Good afternoon to all and welcome to the session. In this session, I'm going to talk about the last minute tips, keeping in mind IBPS Clerk Prelims exam. For some, it is on 28th of this month, that is tomorrow. For some, on 4th and 5th of September. But before in this session, I'm going to talk about how to choose questions, what is the correct order, and how to answer questions. But before I do that, I would like to talk about two important aspects that go with every bank exam. What are those two aspects? One is speed, the other one is accuracy. Both speed and accuracy are important. Then you may wonder, you may ask why. Speed is important because of the stipulated time period. You all know you have to answer 30 questions in 20 minutes. That means throughout the session, you have to be on your toes and you have to remember how fast you answer. That is very important, and every second is important. The second dimension, accuracy. Accuracy because of negative marking. If you don't get the right option, you get the wrong option, then you lose 0.25 marks. So you got to be very careful and you cannot take any chances. A general tip while taking the exam, start with easy questions. But sometimes what happens, you get stuck on a, or you may come across a tough question. If you are stuck on a tough question, don't waste time on that question. Continue with other questions and return to tough questions later. This is the basic tip I would like to give. Now, coming to order of choosing questions, how to choose questions, what is the correct order? I always tell my students start with grammar. But do remember when I give these tips, it is keeping in mind a typical candidate. It doesn't mean that you have to follow this particular approach. It all depends on the individual and his background or her background. Imagine someone is very good at vocabulary. He or she has to start with vocabulary. But based on my experience and expertise, I feel a typical candidate across the country spends a lot of time on grammar and reasonably good at grammar. Keeping that in mind, I always suggest start with grammar based questions. After that, go to vocabulary based questions. One of the reasons, not the only reason, why grammar and vocabulary, questions based on vocabulary are usually multiple choice questions and they are easy to answer. You can take the elimination approach, and based on the knowledge you have, you can answer within no time. And time also matters a lot. After that, in my opinion, you should go to close test. It is a combination of grammar knowledge and vocabulary knowledge besides contextual awareness. Then you have to look at the para jumble and you feel your gut feeling you can handle, spend some time because you get 5 marks. Otherwise, go to the passage. Yesterday, I came up with a video how to deal with the passage. You can go through that, you can watch that video, and you can follow those tips. So, what is the order of choosing grammar, vocabulary, close test, parajumble, passage? Parajumble is based on comprehension skill, and passage also based on comprehension skill. But passage, you have 5 questions based on vocabulary. So, yesterday I told you guys you have to go with those questions because you will be able to answer, in my opinion, 3 to 4 questions should not be that difficult. Again, I always tell my students when you take any exam that is objective in nature, you have to go for 3 rounds. In the first round, answer easy questions. You all know bank exams, prelims, 30 questions. And easy questions, imagine you are well prepared. I'm talking about above average students, those who have spent substantial time. First round, answer easy questions. You will be able to answer between 10 and 15. Second round, answer moderate questions. You will be able to answer between 5 and 7. Third round, answer difficult questions. You will be able to answer 2 to 3. And here, if you take on the lower side, 10 plus 5, 15, 15 plus 2, 17, you can get. On the higher side, 15 plus 7, 22, 22 plus 3, 25. This again, I would like to tell you guys, keeping in mind a well prepared candidate, someone who has spent substantial time. But sometimes what happens, this is a general thing. Sometimes when you go through the questions, you may not find a scenario like this. And you may be able to answer in the first round only 5 or 10, second round about 2 or 3, third round not able to answer. Then you should not panic. Remember, if it is tough for you, it is tough for everyone. Once you remember that, you won't panic. Don't panic. Remain cool and give your best. The moment you panic, I know many candidates, my students, others also, brilliant students, bright students, spend a lot of time, diligent as well. But during the exam, looking at a few questions, initial tough questions, they panicked and they messed up the whole thing. That should not happen. What is the reason? Let's say you have spent 6 months or 1 year because of this particular thing, panic. You mess up the whole thing. It means your 1 year effort, it goes down the drain. That should not happen. And once you tell yourself, if it's a tough paper, if it is tough for me, it is tough for everyone. Then you relax, you don't panic, and you remain cool, give your best. You will be able to answer a lot of questions. This makes all the difference, and I want you guys to remember this while taking the exam. And one more thing, sometimes what happens, let's say you started with the first question and 5 questions, all the questions you could not answer with 6 months preparation or 1 year preparation. Again, don't panic. You still have 25 questions. And in the exam, do remember if you get between 18 and 21, that's pretty good score. 60%, 70%. And first 5 questions you could not answer. It doesn't mean that you have to panic and you have to mess up the whole thing. Remain positive. Tell yourself, I still have 25 questions. Imagine next 5 questions also very tough. That means 1 to 10 tough questions. Still don't lose your confidence. Don't feel diffident. Be positive. Tell yourself, still 20 questions are there and you answered all the 30. You could answer about 8 or 9, but you thought you would answer 20. Nothing to get disappointed, nothing to worry. Tell yourself this is a tough paper, and always remember if it is tough for you, it is tough for everyone. And give your best because it is relative. And these things, these tips, they look very simple when I tell, when you listen, when you write. But those candidates, while taking the exam, if they remember and implement, they will definitely get success. I can give in writing. The next dimension, how to answer. Keep in mind, you have to keep in mind certain things while answering questions. Keep in mind, while answering grammar based questions, think of rules, common errors, and the context. Nowadays, they're asking questions based on the context. Contextual awareness, very important. Never ever ignore the context. Look at the sentence, read the sentence meticulously, and try to understand the context. At the same time, try to use that knowledge, rules, common errors, exceptions, all these you will be able to answer. Keep in mind while answering vocabulary based questions, let's say you have about 5,000 or 10,000 effective words. You have spent a lot of time and you feel or you thought you're good at grammar, you're good at vocabulary. Then what happens? So many words, you may come across new words. Nothing to worry. Then what you have to do, you should not give up. You have to think or look at the roots, the prefixes, the suffixes. Again, look at the context. And based on that, you will be able to answer at least a few questions. That will help in the exam. Nowadays, we talk about, especially bank exams, new patterns. Keep in mind, while answering new patterns based questions, remember it is old wine in a new bottle. They are testing the same knowledge, what they have been testing, but the format is different, The way is different, the model is different. Old wine in a new bottle. That means what? If you are good at basics, you are good at grammar, you are good at vocabulary, whatever the pattern, you will be able to answer. That you should always remember. All the best. These are the tips I wanted to give. Thank you very much.